Hey guys, it's Audrey here. Welcome to the Permission to Hustle podcast. This podcast is just me, myself, and I today. So thanks for listening. I wanted this podcast to be all about working from home. The best strategies that you can implement to make working from home truly work for you. Now, this is one that I'm actually shooting on a day that all of my kids are home. I have 5 kids. They range in age from 5 to 14. And it is one of those things that I have to say, I'm probably asked this question more than anything else is how do you work from home? How do you make the balance of it with the 5 kids? What can you do? What strategies do you have? I'm being very blunt, very honest here. It is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. I'm coming at you with 5 kids, so I might be very different than a lot of people. But truly, I've been working from home for the last 10 years, and I have had my ups and my downs, and it is the good, the bad, and the ugly. The grass is always greener, I will say that. But I will say there are some strategies that I have implemented throughout the last 10 years that have worked for me and that have really been beneficial in helping me create and grow my business. And just so you know, too, my daughter who's 5, this is the first year that I have had all of the kids gone throughout the entire day. Without being on quote unquote alert. She was in preschool last year, but it was one of those things where, at any time I could be called to go pick her up because either she, had an accident at school or it was just a half day. So this is the first year that all 5 kids have been in school. So the strategies I'm going to share with you are strategies. This is not me talking to you as if I've always had chunks of time to play with. I have not. So these are my strategies that have worked. I hope these help you. Anything that works for you, I would love for you to comment, share, either tweet me at Audrey McClellan, share in the Permission to Hustle group. I think that we all learn and grow from each other. I don't feel that anybody is the true expert at anything. I feel like we genuinely all have stories that we've learned lessons and we've learned strategies that work. And I love hearing from other moms out there what works for them too. So my number 1 piece of advice, tip, strategy from working from home, have a designated space. I did not for the longest time, and I wanted to pull my hair out. My workspace was genuinely anywhere the kids were. And I'm not even kidding. The 4 boys, my sons are all within a year. So I had 4 boys within literally 3.5 years. So I would work wherever they were. My workspace was my laptop, which is not a good workspace. I couldn't always concentrate. I was always putting my laptop up and down. I had papers scattered everywhere. I'm a note taker and I'm a planner girl and I love planners. So I genuinely would always just leave things around and feel very scattered. So I remember just saying to my husband, I need a workspace. So what we did on our old house was we really transformed a living room, more like a den. I don't know if people call dens throughout the country, but like a little extra little sofa room, like a small little living room, into a TV room. I don't know what people call them. I'm thinking of all these different names. Regardless, we took the smallest living space in the house and we transformed it into my office. It was great. It wasn't gigantic. It wasn't too small. It was just the perfect space for me. I was able to paint the walls a really pretty golden color. I had a desk. I had bookshelves. For me, it was like getting a locker on the first day of school. Like, you remember that feeling when you had your locker for the very first time and you were so excited. This was your space. You could hang a coat or put a mirror in it. You felt like the coolest kid on the block. That was how I felt when I finally got my designated space. And you know what? I have talked to so many different moms throughout the years. You don't need a whole room. Maybe you say to your husband, listen, I don't have the space to do this, but from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, this area on the kitchen table is mine. Nobody can touch it. Maybe you buy a little side table that you can put in your living room or your bedroom, and there's drawers, and all your stuff is in those drawers. Maybe it's a bookshelf somewhere in your house. If you don't have an actual space that you can transform or create a little sacred space somewhere in your home just for you. I'm telling you right now, it's going to help you out. Even if it's literally a hat box that you find at a vintage store and you put all your papers in it in your laptop and you know that is your space. But I really do think it helps to have just a designated area that you can store your stuff, keep your stuff, and if possible, continuously work at. I know that in our home right now, when we moved 2 years ago, we had a little tiny, the space that I'm even shooting this in right now is a fraction of the size that my old office was in my old house. I really do think that the guy that we got the house from intended this as, I almost want to say, a storage space, a little closet, but I transformed it into my office. You don't need anything big, but I love that I can always come in here and I can just be set aside from everybody else. This is mom's space. And if you really want to build your business and you really want to make it a business, then this is something that I think that everybody just needs to do. You got to treat yourself like a professional. You're doing this. You're all in. This is your hustle. Treat it like a business. I feel like when stuff was scattered around the house before, it was still a hobby to me. It wasn't, and I never intended this to be a hobby, as a side note. So really make sure that you give yourself a space. Number 2 strategy, make sure you have set hours. One of the biggest things that I had to teach my family and my friends very early on was, listen, just because I'm home does not mean that I'm available. I remember saying to people, like, if I went to work, when I used to work for Donna Karan in New York City, corporate office, people could not just show up. People could not even call me. I would always be so nervous when I got a phone call from, like, even my mother. Treat what you do like a business. Tell people, listen, I am booked from 9 to 3. Please don't call. Please don't come over. If they invite you somewhere, let them know, listen, I'm working, but thank you. I'll meet up with you guys later. This was the toughest thing for me, to be able to get that into people's heads. Me working from home does not mean that I am available. And setting work hours was one of the first things that I needed to do. And at first they were like 9 to 11 because that was only the time I had. And then it was like 9 to 12:30 because again, that was the only time I had. Now today, even 10 plus years later, my goodness. My hours are still like 9 to 2:30. When the kids get off that bus, life ain't the same. Every mom knows that. When the kids get off the bus, even with kids that are in middle school, even though they run off to the rooms and shut the door, I'm like, nope, get down here. We have homework. Empty your backpack. Give me your lunch boxes. Give me the Tupperware that was in them. It is just not the same. So when I know that I only have from 9 to 2:30, you bet your butt I get as much done as I can in that time frame. And then again, I can work obviously throughout the day after that, but it's genuinely not the same. So you really do have to set up work hours and really strategize that piece of the puzzle for yourself. I'm telling you right now, it really does help a lot. Another strategy, another tip that I really think has always worked for me is I genuinely always in the morning when my husband's home, or my kids are old enough, I kind of set up the day with all of them right there. They know that when they're not home, that mom works. They know that. But, one thing too, I always say to my husband, hey, listen, honey, when you come home tonight, I need 4 photos done for my blog. I have this new outfit I want to pop on. I want you to take photos. I really need your help in making sure that I can get that done. For my children, hey guys, listen, I really want to shoot a video this afternoon. I just kind of give them all the heads up on the day and the expectation. I let them know that this is how I'm going to need your help. This doesn't happen every day, but if you work from home and you need help and you don't have colleagues, so this really, for me, is the way that I get things done. Tip number 4, which leads me into you don't have colleagues. I loved working in an office. The toughest part for me from working from home was genuinely being by myself. I'm going to be honest. It was a really big adjustment for me. I'm a talker. I'm a people person. I'm not somebody that likes to even hide behind a computer. That's why I do a ton of video and I love doing podcasts. I like to talk. I'm a communicator. And for me, that was the toughest part. It really was an adjustment for me. And I feel like the first couple years, I was kind of in my own shell, in my own bubble, but I genuinely needed to reach out and find my tribe. We all talk about finding a tribe, finding people that we just mesh with, we love, we just have something in common with. And the best thing that I did very early on was find groups of women doing the same thing that were all there for each other. Believe it or not, I don't even know who still uses Skype, but I remember I used to have Skype chats with like maybe 15 to 18 women. And we were all a tribe. We all helped each other. Someone had a question, it was answered. Today, the beautiful thing about today is that there's so many Facebook groups or text threads, or you could still do, I guess, a Skype chat or a Zoom or Google Chats. There's so many different ways to communicate now that it's just amazing. I didn't have that when I started. FaceTime, for Pete's sake, or Facebook Messenger. There's a different way to get in touch with somebody all the time. And my biggest suggestion from working at home is finding a group, 1 or 2 or 3. Hey, listen, if you're someone that can manage a lot of them, do that. This is why we have Permission to Hustle. Now, Permission to Hustle itself is not so much the kind of group that people come in and chat with each other personally, but we do have our mastermind where we have personal chats. But there are so many different groups of friends out there that you can just chat with and talk with and be around. Set up a weekly video chat with a friend. Maybe it's 2 or 3 of them. Have conference calls with friends and talk about what you're doing or how you're doing it. Hop on and just talk about anything and everything, and don't even mention work. Sometimes we just genuinely need to find our colleagues. It's that, it's the water cooler talk. It's the, I remember even working at Donna Karan when I had an issue. I love being able to pop up. I had a girl, Caroline, right next to me, and I say, hey, listen, have you heard from so-and-so? I have a question about this. When you don't have that, it can be different. So find your people, find your girls, find your tribe, find your friends from work online that you can become virtual colleagues. I'm telling you right now, and I don't even mean to sound this dramatic, but it's the truth. It will change your life. It will change your life to find your friends. And the people that you're going to connect with them and be with them and love that and embrace that, because it's something that not a lot of people have. So really make sure that you honor that and really find your people. I promise you, it's going to really help impact and grow your business, because all of a sudden, all these minds working together, it's going to help you. And then my 5th strategy, I could give you 25 strategies. I'm going to stop at 5 today because I'm looking at my time, and I don't like to do long podcasts because I know we all have very limited time. And Vera always makes fun of me when I say this because she's like, I don't understand how you don't do this, but build in a lunch break. Build in a lunch break. Set an alarm on your phone. Listen, when you work from home, we all know it. The reason I don't stop for lunch sometimes is because when I have from 9 to 2:30 to do work with my head down, I'm working from 9 to 2:30. There are some days I don't look up from 9 to 2:30. So my biggest piece of advice is we all need a break. We all need a time to just literally look up, breathe, grab a bite to eat, watch 20 minutes of a TV show, scour Facebook and indulge in your biggest indulgence for like 20 to 30 minutes. But make sure you're stopping for a lunch break. Listen, if you work in an office, if you're a teacher, if you are, whatever you do, you usually stop for lunch. Like my kids don't come home from school and say, yeah, we kind of just worked right through lunch. Mom, we couldn't believe it. Got to school, we were so just engrossed in our lessons, we didn't stop. Stopping for lunch is a good thing. And, even if you're a huge lunch eater or just kind of like a picker, the reason I say this mostly is, yes, you need to fuel up. But most important, you really need to make sure that you give yourself a break. I think that we can all get really consumed and we can all get really engrossed in what's going on online and for our business, for our hustle. And sometimes the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves is just to be able to look up, breathe it in, take a break, and go back to work. I'm a big believer in that. As much as I'm, listen, work, hustle. The older I'm getting, I'm 40, the more I'm beginning to realize how important breaks are. Breaks are helpful. Breaks help you. Even going back to like middle school and high school and college, there's a reason why you have breaks. There's a reason why you have a free period. People know that you need to genuinely look up, especially when the kids come home. And I was telling you guys at the beginning, I still try to work through when the kids are home. So even though I'm maybe not as focused as I am on my work from 9 to 2:30, I'm still pretty drilled in and focused. I'm still pretty much like checking my email and looking online and creating things and coming up with ideas. So if I'm genuinely doing that all day, that's a lot of brain power, people. Even though I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm not saving lives at all, but it is one of those things where you genuinely do owe that to yourself and you deserve that. So build in that break. Make sure you do it. I know it sounds silly, but I do. I set an alarm, and don't make fun of me. Don't judge. I set an alarm for 12 o'clock, and from 12 to 12:20, I pop on the news. I see what's going on, just my local news. I grab a bite to eat and I go right back to work. And that's it. And okay, listen, I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't always watch the news. I usually turn on Hallmark, catch up on a quick little show, watch my Golden Girls, whatever it is you need to focus on, do that. I promise it will be a big help. So those are my 5 strategies. Let me know what you guys do. I know that we could probably talk for hours on this topic. There's no perfect formula. There's no perfect strategy. I know that. These are helpful tips. These are helpful strategies, hopefully, that you can work into your life. It's not always easy working at home as a mom or a dad. It's not. You got to make it work. It's a balance. It's a balancing act. There's really no other way to say it. So appreciate you listening. Head over and join our Permission to Hustle Facebook group if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram, Permission to Hustle. Kind of can't get any easier than that. Again, love it if you have time to drop us a review, leave us some stars. And again, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And as always, give yourself the permission to hustle.